America prides itself on its democratic ideals. Its citizens elect their leaders. They expect those leaders to act in the best interests of the nation. But what happens when foreign governments gain undue influence over American policy? This question has become increasingly urgent in recent years. The Trump administration in particular ushered in an era of unprecedented vulnerability to foreign manipulation. A recent Senate report paints a stark picture of this troubling reality. It reveals how the Trump administration weakened defenses against foreign interference. It highlights the growing influence of nations like Saudi Arabia and China, and it raises profound concerns about the future of American democracy. The report focuses on Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF, as a prime example of this alarming trend. The PIF, a sovereign wealth fund controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince, has amassed significant holdings in the United States. These investments give Saudi Arabia leverage over American policy decisions. This influence extends beyond the economic sphere, reaching into the realms of culture and sport. The Trump administration's close ties to the Saudi government, coupled with its dismantling of safeguards against foreign interference, created a perfect storm for undue influence. This confluence of factors raises a fundamental question. Can America, once a beacon of democratic principles, effectively combat the insidious threat of foreign manipulation? The answer remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the stakes are incredibly high. The integrity of American democracy and its ability to chart its own course in the world hang in the balance. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF, has become a major player in the global economy. It manages over $620 billion in assets. The PIF's portfolio is vast and diverse. It includes stakes in companies like Uber, SoftBank, and Lucid Motors. But the PIF's ambitions extend far beyond mere financial gain. It seeks to advance Saudi Arabia's strategic interest on the world stage, and it has found a fertile ground for influence in the United States. The PIF has poured billions of dollars into American assets, including real estate, technology companies, and infrastructure projects. This influx of capital gives Saudi Arabia significant leverage over American policymakers. The Trump administration, known for its cozy relationship with the Saudi government, did little to curb this growing influence. In fact, Trump himself boasted about his close ties to the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. He often touted the billions of dollars in arms sales to Saudi Arabia as a sign of his administration's success. However, this transactional approach to foreign policy came at a steep cost. It allowed Saudi Arabia to gain a foothold in key sectors of the American economy. It emboldened the Saudi government to pursue aggressive policies in the Middle East, such as the devastating war in Yemen. And it undermined America's standing as a champion of human rights and democracy. The PIF's growing influence in the United States is a stark reminder of the challenges posed by foreign investment in a globalized world. It underscores the need for greater transparency and accountability in international finance, and it raises profound questions about the future of American power and influence in an era of shifting geopolitical dynamics. The world of professional golf found itself at the center of a geopolitical storm with the emergence of LIV Golf. Funded by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, LIV Golf lured some of the biggest names in the sport with staggering sums of money. Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, and Brooks Koepka were among the high-profile defectors to the controversial tour. The PGA Tour, long the dominant force in professional golf, responded with suspensions and legal threats. The LIV Golf controversy was about much more than just money or sport. It represented a blatant attempt by Saudi Arabia to use its wealth to sanitize its image on the world stage. Critics accused the kingdom of sports washing, using sports to distract from its abysmal human rights record. The murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, the ongoing war in Yemen, and the brutal repression of dissent within Saudi Arabia cast a long shadow over the LIV Golf enterprise. Donald Trump inserted himself squarely into the fray, hosting LIV Golf tournaments at his own golf courses and praising the Saudi-backed tour. Trump's embrace of LIV Golf and his close ties to the Saudi government raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest. It also highlighted the dangers of foreign governments using sports to gain influence and legitimacy. The recent merger of LIV Golf and the PGA Tour has only deepened the controversy. While presented as a way to unify the sport, the deal has raised serious questions about Saudi Arabia's influence over professional golf. Critics argue that the merger rewards the kingdom's aggressive tactics and gives it a seat at the table of one of the world's most prestigious sports organizations. The LIV Golf saga serves as a cautionary tale about the growing influence of foreign money in sports and the challenges of upholding ethical standards in a globalized world. The Senate committee investigating Saudi Arabia's influence faced significant obstacles in its quest for answers. The Saudi government refused to cooperate with the investigation, stonewalling requests for information and documents. This lack of transparency raised red flags and fueled suspicions about the true extent of Saudi Arabia's activities in the United States. Adding to the committee's challenges, consulting firms hired by the Saudi government also refused to comply with requests for information. These firms, citing confidentiality agreements and potential legal repercussions from Saudi Arabia, claimed they were unable to disclose details about their work for the kingdom. This stonewalling tactic effectively shielded key information from scrutiny, hindering the committee's ability to get a complete picture of Saudi Arabia's influence operations. The committee's experience exposed a glaring loophole in US law. Current regulations provide inadequate mechanisms to compel foreign governments or their agents to cooperate with congressional investigations. This lack of oversight creates a breeding ground for foreign interference, allowing actors like Saudi Arabia to operate in the shadows with impunity. The committee's struggles underscore the need for stronger legal frameworks to address foreign influence operations. Greater transparency requirements, enhanced enforcement mechanisms, and stricter penalties for non-compliance are essential to deter foreign governments from meddling in American affairs. Without such safeguards, the US remains vulnerable to manipulation by foreign actors seeking to advance their own interests at the expense of American democracy. Section 5. Dismantling defenses. Trump's legacy of vulnerability. The Trump administration's approach to foreign policy was marked by a dangerous combination of naivete, transactional thinking, and a disregard for democratic norms. This approach created an environment ripe for foreign influence as adversaries and allies alike recognized and exploited the administration's vulnerabilities. One of the most alarming aspects of the Trump era was the systematic dismantling of safeguards against foreign interference. The FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force, established to counter threats from hostile nations, was disbanded. Enforcement of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, designed to expose foreign lobbying efforts, was significantly weakened, and lobbyist disclosures crucial for tracking foreign influence peddling plummeted by 30 to 40% during Trump's tenure. Trump's personal financial entanglements further exacerbated the problem. His vast business empire, with properties and interests around the globe, presented a web of potential conflicts of interest. Foreign governments and individuals seeking to curry favor with the administration saw an opportunity to gain access and influence by patronizing Trump's businesses. This erosion of ethical standards and disregard for democratic institutions created an atmosphere of permissiveness that emboldened foreign actors seeking to manipulate the US government. The consequences of this lax approach are still being felt today, as the US grapples with the legacy of Trump's foreign policy and the challenge of restoring trust in its democratic institutions. Section 6. A glimmer of hope. The Sovereign Wealth Fund Transparency Act. In response to the growing concerns about foreign influence, lawmakers have proposed legislation to enhance transparency and accountability. The Sovereign Wealth Fund Transparency Act, introduced by Senator Richard Blumenthal, aims to close loopholes that allow foreign governments to operate opaquely in the US financial system. This bipartisan bill would require sovereign wealth funds like Saudi Arabia's PIF to disclose their investments in the United States. It would also mandate greater transparency regarding the fund's ownership structure, governance, and investment strategies. By shedding light on these often secretive entities, the Act aims to deter corruption, money laundering, and undue influence by foreign governments. The Sovereign Wealth Fund Transparency Act represents a crucial step towards safeguarding US interests in an era of globalized finance. By promoting transparency and accountability, the Act seeks to level the playing field and ensure that foreign investments benefit the American people, not just foreign governments or special interests. However, the bill faces an uphill battle in Congress. Opponents argue that it would stifle foreign investment and harm the US economy. They also claim that existing regulations are sufficient to address concerns about foreign influence. Despite these challenges, proponents of the bill remain hopeful that it will garner enough support to become law. They argue that the risks posed by unchecked foreign influence are simply too great to ignore. Section 7, a global threat, China and beyond. While Saudi Arabia's influence operations have garnered significant attention, it is crucial to recognize that the threat of foreign interference extends far beyond any single country. China, in particular, has emerged as a major player in this arena, employing a sophisticated and multifaceted strategy to advance its interests on the world stage. China's approach involves a combination of economic leverage, political pressure, and covert influence operations. The Chinese government has poured billions of dollars into investments around the world, often using its economic clout to gain leverage over foreign governments and businesses. It has also sought to expand its political influence through diplomatic outreach, cultural exchanges, and propaganda efforts. Beyond these overt methods, China has also been linked to a range of covert influence operations, including espionage, cyber attacks, and disinformation campaigns. These activities are often difficult to trace back to the Chinese government, but they reflect a broader pattern of behavior aimed at undermining democratic institutions and advancing China's authoritarian agenda. The global nature of this threat requires a coordinated international response. The United States cannot hope to counter foreign influence operations alone. It must work with allies and partners to share information, coordinate strategies, and present a united front against those who seek to undermine democratic values and institutions. Section 8, Conflicts of Interest, a swamp of compromises. The Trump administration was plagued by conflicts of interest from its earliest days. Trump himself, with his vast business empire, presented a walking conflict of interest. His refusal to divest from his businesses while in office blurred the lines between his personal financial interests and the national interest. Beyond Trump's own entanglements, his administration was stacked with individuals who had close ties to foreign governments and businesses. These individuals often used their positions to advance the interests of their former clients or associates, rather than the interests of the American people. For example, several Trump administration officials were found to have received payments from foreign governments while serving in government. These financial entanglements raise serious questions about their loyalties and their willingness to put America's interests first. The Trump administration's culture of corruption and self-dealing created an environment where conflicts of interest were not only tolerated, but celebrated. This lack of ethical standards eroded public trust in government and made the United States more vulnerable to foreign influence. Section 9, the assault on truth silencing independent journalism. A free and independent press is essential for a healthy democracy. Journalists play a vital role in holding the powerful accountable, exposing corruption and informing the public. However, the Trump administration waged a relentless assault on the press, seeking to undermine its credibility and silence its critical voice. Trump repeatedly attacked journalists and media outlets that he disliked, labeling them fake news and enemies of the people. He banned reporters from press briefings, revoked press credentials, and encouraged violence against journalists. His administration also sought to weaken press freedom through legal means, such as by threatening to revoke broadcasting licenses and prosecuting journalists under espionage laws. This assault on the press was not just an attack on a particular industry or profession, it was an attack on the very foundations of American democracy. By seeking to silence critical voices and control the flow of information, Trump sought to undermine the public's ability to hold him and his administration accountable. Trump's attacks on the press had a chilling effect on journalism in the United States. Journalists faced increased harassment and intimidation, both online and offline. News organizations faced financial pressure as advertisers withdrew their support in response to Trump's attacks. And the public's trust in the media, already at historic lows, eroded further. Section 10, a call to action safeguarding democracy in a world of influence. The challenges posed by foreign influence are complex and multifaceted. There is no easy solution, no single piece of legislation or policy that can fully protect the United States from those who seek to undermine its democracy. However, there are steps that can be taken to mitigate the threat and safeguard American interests. First and foremost, the United States must restore its commitment to democratic values and institutions. This means rejecting the politics of division and demonization that have become all too common in recent years. It means reaffirming the importance of a free and independent press, an impartial judiciary, and a government that is accountable to the people it serves. Second, the United States must strengthen its defenses against foreign interference. This includes bolstering cybersecurity, combating disinformation, and enforcing campaign finance laws. It also means closing loopholes that allow foreign governments to operate opaquely in the US financial system. Third, the United States must work with its allies and partners to counter foreign influence operations on a global scale. This requires sharing information, coordinating strategies, and presenting a united front against those who seek to undermine democratic values and institutions. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the American people must be vigilant in defending their democracy. This means staying informed about the issues, holding elected officials accountable, and speaking out against injustice. It also means supporting organizations that are working to protect democratic values and institutions. The stakes could not be higher. The future of American democracy and the future of the world order that it has helped to shape may depend on the choices made in the years to come.